This is the Open University.
Welcome back, and I did promise in my last episode that I would be talking about life this time, as if making an album was somehow not life. It is, and it was fun, and I had my usual postpartum depression because it's such fun, and when you stop doing it and just go back to whatever you were doing before, it's kind of like after an affair or something, after a relationship which has seemed like all-encompassing, and then you wonder what's left in your life. So yeah, we're talking about life today, and my way of talking about my life is to show you my photographs, and it doesn't get very high ratings, but I really enjoy talking about things that I've seen. The way I take photographs is not really a coffee table art project when I do Tumblr pictures. It's more a kind of notebook for myself. Aspirational in a certain way because it makes my life look more beautiful and interesting than it actually is. But I do seek out the kind of things that I photograph. I go out in the day hoping that I'll see things like that, although I never quite know in advance what I'm going to see, obviously, and that's the excitement. It's the excitement of any kind of raw data collecting which will end up in something artistic or creative, is that you don't quite know what you're going to get until you get it. And then you recognize it in the raw, out there in nature. Then you recognize it within the snaps you've taken or the ideas you've scribbled down for songs or whatever it is. As one of the better ones. And then you make a kind of compendium of all the best takes, shots, aperçus, lyrics, whatever it is. And that compendium then, becomes more and more rarefied in the sense that it's less and less like the wilderness and chaos of life. Unmediated, unfiltered, ugly. I mean, Berlin, basically I'm showing you today a couple of months worth of Berlin shots, although August was a bit sparse because I was working, I wasn't going out so much. But it's things I've seen in, organized sites and exhibitions, but also just things I've seen on the street. Shooting through shop windows and stuff like that. So it's a kind of condensed milk of imagery, which I show you to give you an impression, not of the real life of Berlin, but of a kind of aspirational life, the things that really seem to make life worth living. It's positive in that sense. I'm not shooting miserable pictures of fentanyl addicts on corners. It's been an idyllic late summer. I have a strong feeling now that it's autumn and the season of mists and mellow fruitfulness is upon us. So it starts to get a bit chilly in this flat. I'll be leaving for Paris in a week or so because the flat there is better heated and heated by my girlfriend. My girlfriend's body heats me for the rest of the winter. But this is my creative space, and it's my empty place where I assemble music. And I assemble a lot of music, 2 albums a year these days, partly to make a little money, but also because it's just inherently such fun, and it really gives me a sense, it gives me the same sense really that the pictures give me of life having some kind of meaning. I feel I'm very lucky in some ways because I have this I've had many empty decades in which to create a kind of worldview, to build a way of seeing, as it says in Flame into Being back in my Poison Boyfriend album. Art and the generation of meaning, personal meanings, seem to me the most important thing. Not getting rich, just being alive and being allowed to create your own system. Not entirely of your own making, because it's like a kind of magpie's nest of all the glittery things or the interesting, nice things that I've found on my travels. So I need to move around. I need to not be working in a studio all the time. I can't understand these people who get blinkered perspectives on life by being in a recording studio all the time. I can't do it for more than a couple of months a year without feeling that I'm radically impoverishing my life. So I go out. I make a point of, usually about midday, I will leave my flat. Equipped with my little bag with my iPhone in it, my camera. My iPhone is my camera. I do have other proper cameras. This one's a bit, this is my Fujifilm X Pro 1. It's too clunky to carry around though, and it looks too much like a camera when you take it out, and you feel too self-conscious taking pictures with this. I don't know, it's not really, and also it's falling apart a bit. The iPhone is fine for what I do. It's mostly a notebook of, here's the cafe I went to, here's the book I took that day, because I almost take a book each day. And sit there reading in a cafe when I'm on my own. And the book kind of gives a flavour to the day. Yesterday it was Denton Welsh's fantastic diaries. And I found a really nice page which I photographed and put in to yesterday's Tumblr entry about how he had been tracked down by a fan who was collecting his work, not just his writings but also his paintings. And it gave him a strange mixed feeling of, appreciation that somebody had recognized his talent, but also a sense that he was already dead, and he imagined posthumous researchers coming along and people like me, interested in his life in the 1940s. It gave him a sense of, being an observer of his own demise and his own status in culture, which was doing pretty well. He was getting a lot of, people like Auden and Edith Sitwell were behind him and reviewing him and whatever. And all the rest of it. So yeah, Denton Welsh, I love Denton Welsh. And I was sitting there. I found this fantastic cafe called West Berlin, which is it's right next to the König Gallery, which has been slightly cancelled because the gallerist there, the blind gallerist who runs König, who's called König, was accused of improprieties. One of the many millions of people accused of inappropriate sexuality of one kind or another. But there is a fantastic cafe next door to this brutalist church. In which his gallery resides, and it just has very comfortable chairs, and you can work on your laptop there, and so I go there whenever I can. It's only open, I think, 5 days a week, but that's been my new cafe discovery this time. I go to pretty much different cafes every day. Cafe Lix is a good one with an X. Coffee Circle up in Wedding. I hardly ever go to Wedding, but it's like the kind of evil twin of Neukölln. So we have our cool cafes and our cool kind of galleries and everything down here, museums like the Kindle Museum that I was in yesterday. I saw a very queer-friendly show about the restrictions the state places on the body, a bit like the theme of Stop the Body a couple of albums ago. But yeah, Wedding is the northern area, which is kind of like Neukölln. It's kind of Turkish, but also hipsterish. And so I thought I should check out their hipster cafes up there in Wedding, because I never go there. So I found this one called Circle, Coffee Circle, which is good. But yeah, cafes, I go out, I take my book, I go to my cafe, then I might go to, like yesterday I went for lunch to IKEA, I got some cheap plantbullar and chips. Again, sitting there in the canteen, reading Denton Welsh, and also feeling some affinities with my life in Osaka, where I used to go often for lunch to the canteen. It's like a works canteen. The self-employed person's works canteen, I used to call it. The one in the docks of Osaka. I just ride my bicycle over this huge bridge. To the next island, as it were. I think an artificial island. Then I would go through the, yesterday I went through the airport. It was raining, and you know, it's quite fun actually, the warmish rain and the slight blusteriness of this season. But there were sheep in the airport. Grazing where the skylarks used to be. It's quite seasonal, obviously, the airport, but they use it for different purposes at different times. We also had an art fair, because there was the Berlin Art Week a couple of weeks ago, the Gallery Week. There was an art fair called Positions, which had a focus on Korean galleries. And that was in the hangar at Tempelhof Airport. What emerges from these pictures is a kind of an interest in design, a series of genres which I'm filling every day. There might be a nice poster I've seen, there might be my outfit, there might be a picture of a flower. We're using the differential focus, the depth of field trick that iPhones can do, where they pretend they have a big, expensive, wide-open lens to make a very, very thin depth of field, but in fact it's interpolated with AI, essentially with interposing two pictures. And would there be a works of art which I've seen, something which caught my eye in a gallery. It's getting close to the 10 already. There'll be a picture of the cafe I go to. It sounds very formulaic, and I suppose it has become formulaic, but I'm a sucker for repetitive formulae. So what you see in these pictures is that. And this has been a transitional season, obviously. I've been 2 months in Berlin. I'll be back in Paris in a week or so. But I wanted to just show what I was doing when I wasn't recording, because I've been really hidden away in my bunker-like studio for a month of the 2 months. And then I've had a month, very important to have a month here just to catch the feeling of Berlin. And I've been doing that mostly through seeing the gallery a week, which happened a week or so ago. And my usual rather formulaic procedure of going out every day in the late morning to a cafe with a particular book chosen from my enormous library here. Tincturing the environment of a cafe, which already has the smell of coffee, the music they're playing, the furniture, they have the clientele that's in that day, the conversations the clientele's having that I might be hearing and secretly eavesdropping on and scribbling down for possible use in future songs. Or just to get a sense of community, because I'm quite isolated here. My girlfriend's in Paris. I am seeing a few friends here, but not a huge number. So I get that sense of sort of impersonal community from just sitting amongst people. And then the cafes I go to, these sort of Australian style barista, third wave coffee places, they tend to be Anglospheric. They tend to be speaking English. Not necessarily in the way I speak English, often with a lot more likes. I guess I put and they would put like where I put It's quite easy to translate. So I'll read my book that I brought, and I'll be absorbing the Berlin atmosphere, which is really not a Berlin atmosphere. It's more an international atmosphere in those types of places. Then I'll go to a gallery. The day before I saw an exhibition of Pasolini, the NBR, I think it's called, gallery in Chausseestrasse in Mitte. Very thorough exhibition showing a lot of newspaper and book stuff related to Pasolini, his films, the trailers for his films, still production shots from his films. And I find Pasolini very interesting, very elegant, also an ambivalent figure in culture, but again, a bit like the Kindle show, just the number of attacks on him from his compatriots at the judiciary. He was fighting lawsuits for about 20 years, from about the early 60s to his death in 75, I think it was, his murder. He was continuously battling conservative voices in the Italian society who said that he was immoral and he was depraving and corrupting with his films. And in a sense, he started to troll those people, and his films became deliberately provocative, increasingly so, really, as he moved towards his last film, 120 Days of Sodom, or Salo, which is his take on Desade's 120 Days of Sodom, as a kind of comment on fascism and fascism and the body. So that comes full circle back to the Kindle show I saw yesterday, which had a whole list of all the attacks the state has made in Germany on bodies, your own body and what you're allowed to do with it and who you can be and have a particular kind of body and all the rest of it. So, and these continue, it's absolutely not a horizon of liberty which we've crossed. There are still enormous challenges to the body. As I admit in my song, which has a false optimism, but actually in the end it's quite clear that we don't own our own bodies really in any meaningful sense. The pictures, do enjoy them. These don't get high ratings, but I enjoy talking about them because it's a diary for me. And I'll see you next time.
Open University.
This is BBC Two. Now, Bob Harris introduces this week's edition of the Old Grey Whistle Test.
Now on the Old Grey Whistle Test, we're very pleased to be featuring the Polaroids of David Sylvian, a coffee table delight. I'm sure you agree.